Treating seed this spring? AGI Storm FX brings you the ultimate innovation in seed treating for your modern-day farming operation, offering you speed, accuracy, and flexibility. With a simplified design, gentle handling, and precise performance, you can choose to pre-treat or treat your seed just in time. This season, choose the AGI Storm FX seed treater to keep you on schedule and ahead of the curve. Visit aggrowth.com for more information or to find your nearest dealer.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Dubin, and this is the Rural Woman Podcast. I'm a first-generation farmer who married into agriculture. Born and raised in a city, I was so unfamiliar with where my food came from, but I was determined to figure it out. Through my journey into agriculture, I saw women who were strong but humble, often taking a back seat. To me, these women were leaders who deserved a seat at the table. I created the Rural Woman Podcast to share the voices of women in an industry whose stories often went untold. The rural entrepreneurs who live and breathe their work, full of grit and pride. We come here to share our stories, to be in community with each other, to be challenged and inspired, but most importantly, to be celebrated and to be heard. We may not all live, farm, ranch, or homestead the same, but we are all connected. We are rural women, and our stories are worthy of being told. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's special bonus episode of the Rural Woman Podcast, where you'll meet Leanne Marin from AGI. Growing up on a multi-generational family farm, Leanne knows life in agriculture moves very fast. Her role with AGI helps her do what she does best: find solutions for producers where they can least expect it. Starting her career with AGI in 2017, Leanne began as a product specialist with the Storm seed treater line. She spent her time on farm side by side with producers to help them become more profitable through advanced seed treating technology. Now, in her role as a farm technology manager, Leanne takes the same kitchen table approach to identify unique opportunities, solve current on-farm challenges, and find additional ROI for each scenario through AGI's technology solutions. I am so honored to share Leanne's story with you all today and for you all to learn more about AGI and the solutions that they are producing to help us farmers get back our most valuable asset, which is time. As you all may have heard, AGI has come on as a sponsor for the Rural Woman Podcast, and I just want to take a moment right now to say thank you. Your support in sharing the stories of women in agriculture means so much to me, and I know it means so much to my audience as well. Without further ado, my friends, let's get to this bonus episode with Leanne. Hi, Leanne. Welcome to the Rural Woman Podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm so excited to get to know more about you and your job and your life in rural Saskatchewan. So tell us more about yourself, Leanne, and how you got started in agriculture.
Okay. So I grew up on a family farm in south central Saskatchewan. It's actually been in the family since 1906. So starting on its fifth generation of inhabitation by the Marins, I guess you would say. It's gone through a lot of different evolutions through the generations. So at one time was purebred cattle and went into mixed farming and back mainly focused on cattle throughout the family and a little bit of grain farming by my sister and her family. So from there, I guess I went to the U of S as an RVT, was at the U of S for about 15 years, but found that I really missed the opportunity to be on farm instead of in the clinic setting. So that led to my second career, I guess you would say, and starting for AGI in 2017 as a product specialist with Storm seed treaters.
That's amazing. And I love how you phrase that as your second career, kind of your second, kick at the can, if you will, of changing things and going to places that you really love, which is farms and working with farmers.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like as much as it was a really fulfilling career to be in the vet college and be on the cutting edge of some really cool science. I really missed that fulfillment that came from working directly with the producers.
For sure. So you started at AGI in 2017. So talk to us about your experience with AGI and what your role is there now.
Yeah, so I started as a product specialist with Storm seed treaters. So really getting to know the product inside and out, working with research and development engineers and the producers, being able to find some real world solutions to maybe some historic challenges in the seed treating process. And from that, it went to starting with the farm technology management role here this past fall and being able to work with some really cool digital products like SureTrack, Farm Mobile, Nico, and Compass, basically anything with a digital platform on farm. So that first-hand R&D experience, that field experience really was be able to change all of that knowledge from inside of somebody's head and make it duplicatable and usable out on farm.
For sure. You had mentioned, there obviously have been growing pains and struggles throughout the years of seed treatment. Can you talk to us about some of the struggles that you were hearing that farmers needed help with?
Oh, for sure. So there was several pain points historically with treating on farm. A couple of the biggest being that it was a lot of guesswork and averages. So there was no real way without a scale to be able to know how much actual seed was being put through the system and how much you were metering as far as treatment rates, right? We both know that commodities and treatments are a huge investment on farm to be able to plant and get that seed its best start. And so with that pain point, Dan Barty, who is the developer of Storm, was able to come up with a solution that met those needs in the field. So now we're able to know what we're metering with a volumetric conveyor and being able to apply that treatment properly to each seed. And because there's such, like I said, such a huge investment in treatments, micronutrients, and the seed that you don't want to be over treating or under applying and have that investment go the distance every single time.
Yeah. And like you said it perfectly, the guesswork that would go into these things, because you'd kind of eye it and think, well, does that look coated enough, or could you do it again? And I know I've experienced this myself, loading the seed drill, and you're looking at it and my husband would say, well, does it look as, coated as the other one? And I'm looking at it and I'm like, I think so. Like,
yeah, that's right. You do the best that you can with what you have until you know better, and then you do better.
Leanne, that is my key phrase to life. I think when you know better, you do better. So, and it definitely applies to seed treatment for sure. So,
yeah, that's right.
Talk to us about the value of traceability and how that has helped producers and how AGI is helping producers meet those needs.
Oh, for sure. Traceability story is becoming more and more important, I feel, from what we see with the general public, right? Everybody wants to know where their food is coming from and the story of the grain and being able to have eyes on it right from beginning to end. And the progression of the story of the seed with treating, planting, spraying, growing to harvest through bins and conditioning, we're able to hit all of those touch points in the traceability story through AGI. And it's really cool because we're consistently telling the full story for producers, retailers, and even bankers who are asking, and the people that are consuming our products. And so we're able to take all of that and continue on the traceability story and use that data to make data-driven decisions and finding efficiency points and able to create better practices for each individual farming scenario. So there's some really cool aspects in the traceability story, more than just the seed is bought, the seed is planted, the seed is harvested, and then it's sold and goes to create whatever product the consumers need.
Yeah. And I think it's so interesting as a consumer that now in 2022, you can follow this story. And I think there's a lot of companies who are using this and using it to their advantage. I know as a story yesterday, opening up a package, and on the back it says like, go to our website and see where this was grown. And you could go to their website and you could see the field, and then they would show you all of the different steps there. And using that traceability for somebody who's not involved in agriculture, I think is just a really good learning experience for them to know, exactly where it was grown, all of the steps that it needed to go through to get into that bag, into their pantry.
Yes, exactly. And it grows awareness, right? It grows awareness that each individual producer who's, evolving as technology evolves and being able to produce a really good crop in a very responsible way. And that's now being able to be reflected on and investigated by the consumers.
Yeah, exactly. And I love how you use the word investigate, because I feel like some people are very good at investigating, aka Googling, of things that are very important to them, which is great.
Yeah, that's right. Dr. Google.
Yes, exactly. So we're focusing on the Storm seed treater, which we've heard all about here on the Rural Woman podcast, as AGI has graciously sponsored the Rural Woman podcast. Talk to us more about it and tell us about the product and what it is and how it can help producers.
Right. So it's a really cool machine that uses a lot of patented technology. So it was developed by Dan Barty and Michael DeHaan. So they're the brains behind the child that you see out on farm today treating seed. And it's really neat. It uses low profile metering volumetric conveyor to meter the seed from any sort of seed source. So as a seed source, we talk about, bottoms of hopper bottom bins. We can treat from truck to truck. We can treat from flat bottom bins using a transfer auger or conveyor. So it meters the seed up to the treating boot where the treatment is applied. And the treatment system is very cool as well and was developed in-house at AGI Swift Current. And we're able to use peristaltic pumps, multi-line pumps, to be able to apply that treatment accurately every single time. We also have auto calibration and use polyflight. So again, with all of those things combined, and we tell the story of the seed and accurately use the right seed volume, and the right treatment every time. So what Mike and Dan have done, have put all of that information into an HMI screen which is super easy to use. And like, I've got kids as young as 13 and 14 using it, all the way up to, the senior generation on farm. So grandpa and grandma are coming out and treating seed as well, because essentially you're telling the storm what you want it to do. So you're creating this story of what seed you're treating, how much it weighs, what you want to treat it with, the application rate, and a little bit of 1 minute calibration numbers, and you press start and off you go. So it's very, very flexible, very easy to use, and hits those points that weren't historically hit through previous methods of seed treating. So again, like we had chatted about previously, you've got now accurate seed numbers. So it's not based on an average bushel weight anymore. And you have accurate application, because it's like a prescription, right? It has to be treated in mils per 100 kilograms, just like the doctor will prescribe you medicine based on so many milligrams for your body weight, right, per day. And that's basically what we're doing to the seed, and able to get those producers an ROI back on the investment that they're making in their treatment, and able to put that on the seed right every time.
Yeah, that is so neat. And I love the description of it's a storm story. You're telling the screen and you're telling the machine exactly what you want it to do. And for you to say that there are young and older farmers being able to use it, I think is genius, because I think it's actually probably easier for the 13 or 14-year-old younger farmer to operate some of these things. I know some of the older generation get really freaked out by the new technology, and they think, I don't want to try that, I'm going to screw it up, or I don't want to use that. But if being able to being older and being able to use it too, I think that's also a great thing.
Yeah, that's right. It's as simple as if you can dial your iPhone or return a text message, you can run the storm.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's really cool.
Keeping in mind all of the great things that you've mentioned about the storm, how do all of those things affect crop performance and return on investment for farmers?
So being able to get, like I was saying, there's a financial ROI when you're putting your treatment on correctly. So you're not investing extra in over applying, and you're not throwing your money into the wind through under applying, right? So there's that ROI, which everybody looks at all the time, but there's also the ROIs of safe seed handling. So with the polyflight and with the flexibility of the treater, you basically only have to meter it once and put it through a flight once instead of sometimes handling that seed 3 or 4 times. So you've got that really excellent start to your seed that way. So you've got the right amount on. It's only being handled once, which produces better germination rates because you don't have that seed damage that you would see from handling it several times. And we can do, an ROI on your time. You can treat between 800 or 900 pounds a minute up to 2,800 pounds a minute. So you got an ROI on your efficiency as well as an ROI in the cleaning time, because you're not spending 2 or 3 hours like you do with some of the bigger drums cleaning everything out. You can clean the storm out really well in about 15 or 20 minutes. So there's a lot of different points that we're able to hit to make sure that the farmer is being as efficient as possible.
Well, and as farmers, we know that time is money because we are the greatest resource to our farms, and the more time that we have to do other things, the better.
Well, that's right. And because it's so easy to use, typically because treatment is such a huge expense, in my experience, it's always been, the owner or the main point of contact on the farm applying that treatment, because if it's done incorrectly, he's only got himself to blame, right? But now when we see that it's so easy to use, anybody on the farm can use it and treat effectively and efficiently. And it frees up somebody else's time to go out and do things that are maybe more important at that time. So they're not tied up with something that can be done by somebody else now.
Yeah, exactly. So we've talked about the great technology that's behind the storm treater. Tell us about how this has advanced throughout the storm's history, and basically how has this technology advanced throughout the years in seed treatment?
Oh, for sure. One of the great things that I appreciate about this position is that we really take into account what I'm experiencing in the field and taking the producer's feedback and implementing changes. So we have had a few evolutions since Dan developed it in his basement in 2013 with a treadmill, really, is how he came up with. And so, like I said, with his background in ag engineering and being in the treatment industry for so long, and going through that first inception of the Storm Classic, we were able to take customer feedback and producer feedback and break it into 2 separate lines. So the FX, which we use on farm, and the Pro, which is geared more towards retail custom treaters or the larger corporate farms that need that more advanced technology. And so through feedback, we've got advanced utilization or usability of HMI. We've got advanced hydraulics and advanced autocal. So we're able to take all of the human error out of the calibration and basically set it and forget it and leave it to the micro switches to figure out, and off it goes. So again, really being able to take that information back from the field into R&D, implementing it into the next R&D season, and then putting it into production and setting it out into the world so that it can benefit the farmers that are out making sure that they've got the best possible start for their seed.
Well, and you have such the luxury of being able to be on the farm and speaking to farmers and wanting to know their wants and their needs. From your experience, where do you see producers seeing the most value on the farm level?
Right. So the biggest value I've seen is those kitchen table conversations where we're able to take those large investment numbers on over and under treating, sit down and doing a financial ROI so that financial investment can go the distance. And it's, like I said, working with real numbers and not averages. So all of the value is seen in the ROIs on the machine and all of our technology, really. So looking at it from a financial standpoint, figuring out what their time is worth, right? And what kind of time we can get them back to put into other things, whether that's, like I said, other duties on farm or spending it with their families and being able to get some of that family time back so that they have that return on their initial investment as well.
And I think those sit down conversations are so important because I think we're so busy all of the time and we just kind of forget about how much time is actually going into what it is we're doing and not looking at it as an asset because we're just so busy. We're cramming as much things as we can in and we forget to put the family in family farming.
Oh, 100%. I agree. And, you know, I really appreciate farmers are absolutely amazing. They're the most amazing people I feel on earth. I might be a bit biased, but and just being able to sit down and have that conversation about what their goals are, what they want to see. And because there's no one size fits all, and being able to see what the most important things are to them and where their biggest pain points are and creating a solution that's going to work for their particular scenario.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and speaking of solutions, I feel like technology in farming has just come such a long way in a relatively short amount of time. But can you tell us about the adoption of this technology specifically across Canadian farms?
Oh, for sure. It's, you know, technology is not going anywhere. So it's either you learn and adapt and move forward or continue your old historic practices. And we've seen some great traction with data and technology and you know, we have so much data available and technology available out there. It's just finding what can you do with all of that data and technology? How can that serve me the best? And the traction isn't just the ROI, but like I said, understanding each producer's unique goals and finding that usable solution through the data-driven decisions in a way that it's not overwhelming. And so it has really taken off and really soared. And I feel like it's because of not only the machine, but you know, the service that they're able to get, the training that they're able to get, and that usable data, because all of the data that you use throughout of our technology platforms and the Storm specifically, keeping that history and that story of your seed and being able to download it to your computer and go back through it gives so much extra information that they can use as far as record keeping and moving forward and even planning next year. What did we do last year? What worked? What didn't work? What can we go use going forward? The adoption is just unreal, really.
Well, and I think, you know, with climate changes and other things going on in the world, having that data to make informed decisions moving forward is going to be so vital, not only for this generation of farming, but the next generation of farming. They can look back and say, well, 25 years ago, what happened when we had this type of weather, which we're having right now? Having all of those records in a place and them make sense, I think, is super important.
Oh, 100%. And we see that across all of AGI's lines with SureTrack, Farm Mobile, Compass, Nico, and Storm. Everything has a historic view. You're able to take that data, find efficiencies, make changes to your practices if you're finding a gap in your efficiency and being able to go forward. And like you're saying, look back as well. Okay, the weather was doing this and this. We were in this kind of drought or this kind of flooding, whatever that might be, and see what worked.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I myself am kind of a data nerd. Like I really like looking at stats and other things. So all of this sounds very sexy to me.
Excellent.
So, Leanne, if someone is listening today and wants to start up one of those kitchen table conversations with their family, how can they go about making that connection?
Right. So they can get a hold of me through the AGI Storm website at stormtreaters.com, or they can get a hold of me directly at leanne.marin@aggrowth.com, and we'll set up some time and have that conversation.
Perfect. And I will link those in the show notes so people can find you and connect with you and chat all about the Storm and all of the great things that you guys are doing over at AGI to make our lives a little bit easier.
Great.
Those are always great conversations to have. How can you make my life easier?
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's right. And like you're saying, you're a data nerd. I'm very much a nerd in finding where can we be better, right? And reviewing that stuff. So yeah.
Well, and when it comes back to it, we're talking about our time being a valuable asset. So how can we create more time for ourselves to do either more work or efficient work, or like you said, spend time with your family? I think those are always nice things too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Leanne, my last question for you is, what is the most rewarding part of helping farmers for you?
The most rewarding part is being able to see them successful after we've implemented the plan. So sitting down, having the conversation, finding what works best for their goals, and then seeing them succeed. That is amazing. That's an amazing feeling that cannot be replaced.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Leanne, thank you so much for taking the time with me today and chatting with me about AGI and your story in agriculture. I really appreciate it. And I hope you get to continue having these conversations with people and helping them on their farms.
Of course. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Rural Woman Podcast, a proud member of the Positively Farming Media Podcast Network. The Rural Woman Podcast is more than just a podcast. We are a community. A huge thank you to the Rural Woman Podcast team, audio editor Max Hofer, and admin support from Kim & Co. Online. A special thanks to our Patreon executive producers, Sarah Riedner from Happiness by the Acre and Carrie Munven from Laystone Farms. To learn how you can become a Patreon executive producer or other ways to financially support the show, head on over to wildrosefarmer.com to learn more. Be sure to hit the follow or subscribe button wherever you listen to the podcast to get the latest episodes directly on your playlist. And if you are loving the show, please be sure to leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast or any other platform that accepts ratings and reviews. You can connect with us on social media at The Rural Woman Podcast and with me at Wild Rose Farmer. One of the best ways you can support the show is by sharing it. Send this episode to a friend or share on your social media. Let's strengthen and amplify the voices of women in agriculture together. Until next time, my friend, keep sharing your story.